Can you just introduce yourself and kind of your background, your professional background, and then maybe how long you've been homeschooling and how long you've been in CC, and then I'll start from there.
Hi, my name is Daniel Hagedorn, and I've been a teacher for 13 years. I taught in both public and private high schools. I taught U.S. history, government, economics, geography. I taught everything from the advanced placement levels all the way down to, on level, as they called it. And I loved it. I mean, I spent 13 years doing that. I had a great time doing it. I loved doing it. My wife and I have been homeschooling for the last 5 years now, going on six. Our daughter is going to be going into, they call it sixth grade, whatever. I mean, grades, but it's, so she's moving on. But we started out, fortunately, in CC from the very beginning. So beginning in kindergarten all the way through. So it's been great for us. It's been a great experience.
What would be the biggest advice that you could give to homeschooling families?
Wow, that's a great question. I think probably the number one thing is that believe that God gave you your kids for a reason, and God does not make mistakes. If anybody else could do a better job of guiding and leading your children, God would have given them to them. Period. So I think the first thing is really just for parents to internalize that and own that. In other words, you are the number one expert in the world on your kid. And so I think that if parents own that and step into that and internalize that, that would go a long way towards getting rid of some of the insecurities that they feel or some of the doubts that they have, because we've got this system in place that certifies quote unquote experts, and parents think, well, I don't have the paper on my wall. So especially when it gets to the high school years, I think for the most part everybody's cool up until then. But once you get into the equivalent of what ninth grade would be, all of a sudden parents start going, well, how are they going to be ready for college, or how are they going to be ready for this, or well, I just think that parents, a lot of them, they've gotten so beaten down by the system, and they've been so minimized and marginalized that even if they take on the role of homeschooler, I think they still carry a lot of those just strongholds in there. And so my advice would be to get rid of those. The other thing is that you need to realize, I believe, this is just my opinion, but your two wins as a parent are that you instill a love of learning in your kid, which means you don't have to be the guru over everything. You don't have to be the wise man on top of the mountain dispensing bits of wisdom to everybody who climbs to see you. All you need to do is model and build into your child's heart a love of learning. That's it. So a kid comes to you with a question, great, I have no idea. Let's find out. And instead of feeling like they have to have the answer, which, by the way, is what the school system trains them to think. So I think that would be the other part. And then the last point is just that if you help your child to learn how to learn, and really that's all the subjects are: math, science, literature, history, all of that. These are all just different avenues to train the same skill, learning how to learn. So that's really all it is. And so I think that if parents approach the subjects that way, that look, this is just an opportunity to learn how to learn, and that is our ultimate goal, is learning. Not a grade, not that we're at a certain chapter by a certain point, but just simply our goal is, did you do your best? Are you learning? That's your win. So that would be probably my advice to parents.
That's great. That's awesome. And it's you hit on a couple points there that I just wanted to hit on. One is, you talk about the Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, when he said the 10,000 hour rule, and you had said, who's a better expert on your kid than the parents? How many hours does a parent have in his kid? Well, a parent's got 10,000 hours, right?
Right.
Versus how long does it take? How much time does that teacher have invested in your kid?
Right.
You know, I haven't done the math, but maybe 100 hours. If you had to break it down, and maybe not even that much. Yeah, I mean it'd be 100, I guess, of 1 hour per day for a year, and then they probably move on to another teacher. So
Right.
um, they'll never even scare becoming an expert at your kid.
Right.
They won't even come close. So that was neat that you
Very
said
true.
that. And the other thing too, you connected the dot. A huge dot for me is you want to instill a love of learning. And conceptually, I understand that, and I love learning myself. Until you gave me that example, you said, so when your kid comes to you and says, "Hey, how does this work?" Or, "You know what? I have no idea, but that's a great question. Let's go figure it out." Like, you're modeling a love of learning, right? Just with
Right.
that little example, that's what it looks like. Because
Yeah.
I didn't have a file like, well, what is that? What does a love of learning look like? I don't have a mental file for that. You just created that there. That's awesome. I love that. That's a great mental image there.